Hello folks, this is Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing. If you just watched my video on how I detail tractors and remove a lot of the grease and grime that can be on these axles, it could be hydraulic fluid, it could be all sorts of grease, and it just takes some time to actually get it off there, and you want to have the right cleaners to be able to do it. But the purpose of this video, the reason I'm making this video now, is now that I've removed all this grease, what I have here, this is an older tractor, and this tractor here has got some rust on it. It's got some of the areas or some of the paint has begun to get pitted. It doesn't look all that sharp. It doesn't look all that sweet. And I actually want to do something. I want to do something to kind of raise the level of appearance on this thing, and I'm going to use a dressing. And I thought this was a good opportunity to make a video because it's the same dressing I use when I do an undercarriage on somebody's car, and I want to take some of those dull, faded pieces of metal or components that are underneath the car, and I want to bring them back to life. I want to give them a nice rich black or satin look to them, but I want to use a dressing that's appropriate. Again, this is a tractor, so they're going to be using this tractor on their property. There's going to be a lot of debris that gets stuck up under here. There's going to be all sorts of twigs and grass clippings. So whatever dressing I'm going to use on this, I want it to be a dressing that's going to completely dry to the touch. I don't want anything sticking to it. I'm not going to spray some type of undercarriage spray that is gooey, slimy, sticky, or solvent based. So again, I use this dressing a lot. This is McGuire's Hyper Dressing. It's a water-based dressing, and it's going to dry to the touch, but it's going to take some of these faded, colored pieces of metal and components under here. This happens to be Kubota blue or light gray. I'm not really sure what it is, but this is what it's going to look like. I'm just going to spray this stuff all over these components. And again, this is water-based. It's not going to hurt anything, and it's not going to dry all sticky, slimy, greasy, be wet to the touch. And I just want to dial this area in and make it look absolutely sweet when I'm done for the customer. So when they look under here, all those faded pieces of metal have kind of come back a little bit. So I'm just going to let it dwell there for a minute, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a trick or a secret. I've got this water-based dressing saturated all over the place. I don't want to leave it wet like that. So I'm going to take a leaf blower, and it's going to be a little bit loud, so bear with me. But I want to dry all this off and just blow that water-based dressing into all the nooks and crannies on this undercarriage here, and let it just penetrate and soak into this metal and give it a nice appearance. So it would look like this. Just bear with me. It's going to get a little loud. So hopefully that video has picked that up. Is not only was I able to remove all the grease and grime from the bottom of this axle, from the bottom of this Kubota tractor, but then I want to go that extra step for my customers. And because this dressing is water-based, yes, I want to blow it. I kind of want to accelerate the drying process, so when I hand it over to my customer, it's not dripping wet with any of that water-based dressing. But even if I sprayed that water-based dressing and just left it alone, let it dry on its own, it will dry completely to the touch. It's not an issue. But now for me, as a detailer, of course, it's all about the details for me. It's one thing to remove all that grease and grime. It's another to try to restore, to the best of my ability, when I'm cleaning somebody's tractor, I want to restore some of those faded metals. Again, it's just an older tractor, it happens. But instead of painting this thing, I just want to dial it in. I want to go that extra step, dress all the metals and all the components that I've degreased off this bottom of this axle, the bottom of this tractor, and make it pop. And again, this dressing will be dry to the touch, which is important, especially in agricultural or farm issues. I'm aware, and I'm not naive to the fact that this is going to be going down a piece of property, and there's going to be all sorts of clippings and grass and debris that could stick under here. So I don't want to use a dressing that's going to be sticky or slimy to the touch. So that's kind of a little trick that I do. As far as dialing in and really making these components pop, is spray a little bit of dressing under here. And it's the same dressing I would use on an undercarriage of a car as well, for the same reasons. It's not sticky, it's not slimy, it completely dries to the touch. So that's just, I just wanted to bring you in real quick and show you that. Nothing too fancy, but it's a way, if you're a professional detailer and you do provide this type of service for your customers and you're removing all this grease, applying a nice water-based dressing on the bottom of these tractors on the undercarriage just gives a nice, it brings everything back to life. It kind of restores that metal to some degree, and it just looks amazing, and most customers will appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.